Reports of tornadoes in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We know at least one person is dead. More have been injured. Reports of damage in these states still coming in tonight. That same system is headed for Georgia. Our weather team has been tracking these storms all afternoon. Jeff Cox is in the Skywatch Weather Center right now with some new information. Jeff, good evening.
Aaron, good evening to you and good evening, everyone. Welcome into the Skywatch Weather Center. Active severe weather right now in parts of Mississippi and Alabama, including one tornado warning southwest of Birmingham. That thunderstorm packing a huge punch, not just with the rotation, but an incredible amount of lightning. But look to the north, these storms now entering northwest Georgia, and while they are not severe, they are very loud from Chattanooga to Rome back to Birmingham. Boy, my goodness, the thunder and lightning, absolutely incredible there. Now, we are starting to see a weakening trend in this line of storms, and that has been the forecast all along. Yes, these storms have been really severe to the west. Lots of damage, but it doesn't guarantee that we see the same thing here. And so in the end, we have to watch it overnight and stay weather aware. We know that the threat of severe weather is possible tomorrow, and so our weather team will be tracking it closely through the overnight hours. Every icon on this map represents some type of storm report. Unfortunately, this is a fatal storm system. We know of at least one fatality. 12 injuries have been reported. Nearly 100 reports of severe weather, including at least about a third of those as tornado reports tonight, stretching from Louisiana on through Mississippi and now into parts of Alabama as well. So the school day forecast a little troublesome, especially early in the day. So waking up to storm threat across the mid-state, very mild in the mid-60s. That rain and storm chance will last throughout the day, with temperatures holding through the mid-60s by lunchtime, then dropping through the afternoon. So we're steady pretty much for the first half of the day, turning colder for the second half of the day. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take tomorrow's storm threat. I'll break it down hour by hour. Following this, colder weather coming in, find out when the 20s return, and the latest look at Christmas. That plus the 10-day forecast just minutes from now.
Beautiful soul, just all around a wonderful person, and it hurts that she's gone.
Remembering a life lost too soon, Kimberly Touchton died after being hit in the head by a vehicle tire while walking her dog in Houston County Sunday night. And new tonight, Wgxa's Aaron Wise spoke to a childhood friend of Touchton's about that unexpected loss. Aaron.
Yes, Kimberly Touchton was loved by many and had enough joy in her heart to give to everyone, according to Sarah Hooks, a childhood friend. I talked with Hooks about how she is dealing with the death of a friend that she says was one of the few to stick beside her during difficult times.
She was definitely a sweet soul, very sweet soul. You can't find too many people like that.
The life of Kimberly Touchton was taken Sunday night after a stray tire traveling 350 yards down the road struck Touchton in the head while she was walking her dog, according to Houston County Sheriff's Office. To put that distance into perspective, that's nearly the length of 3 football fields the tire traveled before hitting Touchton, killing her. A childhood friend, Sarah Hooks, says the news of her friend's death has been gut-wrenching and her heart is broken.
I just sat there and I just started bawling my eyes out. I cried so much.
Hooks says their friendship was one that no matter how much time had passed, they picked right back up where they left off. Hooks, who recently had a baby, says the last time she saw Touchton told her how excited she was to meet her daughter. A meeting that unfortunately will never happen.
It crushes me because I know if she would have met her, she would have just absolutely loved her. And my daughter would have loved her too. And now that she's not gonna have that chance, it breaks my heart. And I wish I would have done more to have been able to get them together to meet.
Hooks says the memories that she has of Touchton will be ones she cherishes for the rest of her life.
We'd sit there and pick on each other back and forth like we were sisters. And I looked at her as a sister. We were so close, and I'm not going to forget her, and I hope nobody else does.
And Hooks tells me that her thoughts and prayers are with the Touchton's family as they go through this difficult time. Bankston says officials have located the vehicle owner and the person is in questioning. We have not independently confirmed if the driver has been charged with anything.
Erin Wise, WGXA News.
Aaron, thanks. New at 10, a 22-year-old man is in the hospital after being shot in Macon. The Bibb County Sheriff's Office says a group of people got into an argument. That shooting happened in a neighborhood residence called Bird City, which is located on Mallard Avenue off of Eisenhower Parkway. The name of the victim has not yet been released.
The victim was transported to the hospital. He was speaking when he left here. At this time, his condition is unknown. All we know is they have him at the hospital and they're working on his injuries.
We know no suspects have been arrested. The impeachment showdown is growing a lot closer tonight as the House prepares for a full vote in a matter of days. And since Democrats have a majority in the House, it's highly likely the president will be impeached. So what is the White House doing to prepare? And how much are both sides looking forward to the next phase in the Senate? Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman shows us all of the new developments.
Just out, 658 pages. That's how thick the House Democrats' case is against the president and for impeachment. The report claiming Trump will remain a threat to national security and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office. Republicans argue, though, it's been partisan since the start, and a full House vote Wednesday will be too. The feuding across America before the actual floor fights illustrate just how deep the divide runs.
Trials have witnesses. That's what trials are all about.
Senator Chuck Schumer announced he wants in a potential Senate trial to hear from former National Security Advisor John Bolton and Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, which could make for a longer-lasting spectacle.
I'll do long or short. I wouldn't mind the long process, because I'd like to see the whistleblower who's a fraud.
Some Republicans would also like to see Joe and Hunter Biden testify, though if both sides start calling high-profile witnesses, it could get messy.
And Senator McConnell is going to want to keep this thing as tight. He wants to make sure that people see the House Democrats get to present their case, and then he's going to want to shut it down as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, McConnell is talking strategy with the White House and if they want to just mount a brief defense and quickly vote or fight back with whatever that would entail. If it gets to that Senate phase, it also gets a little trickier. Republicans have a slim majority. Even a few defectors could affect the rules, the witness list, and more. So anyone who is currently on the fence is certainly feeling the pressure. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
Police are still investigating after a college student was stabbed to death, where investigators are searching for more answers. Two teens are facing charges after a shooting in a mall on Saturday in Atlanta. The incident happened during a fight in the food court of Cumberland Mall. Cobb County police say one of the suspects is charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. The other is charged with reckless conduct and carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Another witness reported one of the suspects pointed a gun at him, but he wasn't shot. That shooting still under investigation tonight. The family of the Barnard College student who died during a robbery in New York is lashing out at a powerful police union as that investigation continues. Tessa Majors was killed during a robbery in New York's Morningside Park. A 13-year-old is being held without bail, charged with helping in that robbery, and then allegedly watching while another boy stabbed Majors to death. A third teenager was questioned and released. Police are now looking to friends and family and social media to find out who else was involved.
We find that a lot. People, they see something, they never say anything. So they're going to be doing a lot of interviews, a lot of discussion with family members, perhaps classmates.
And police say they have increased security in Morningside Park, which has recently seen an uptick in the number of robberies and also assaults. Continuing coverage tonight, we're learning that there is no bail for a pawn shop worker arrested by investigators probing the Jersey City shooting. Fox's Anna Eliopoulos reports.
A court appearance by a man who may have had a direct link to the Jersey City shooting. Police say Ahmed Ahadi's cell phone number and the address of his family's pawn shop, some 30 miles south of Jersey City, were written on a note found in one of the shooter's pockets. Officers searched the business as well as his home and reportedly found numerous guns, along with hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Wgxa was arrested and charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. Investigators are now trying to determine whether Wgxa provided the two shooters with the guns used in the deadly attack. Prosecutors say he had the same kind of weapons recovered from the scene.
They had AR-15 rifles downstairs in the pawn shop. These are things that would be illegal for any citizen to possess, but the fact that he's a convicted felon that has been warned he cannot possess them and still did.
Wgxa was denied bail at Monday's hearing. While he was going before a judge, a massive police presence outside the wake for Detective Joseph Seals, the first of 4 people killed in last week's shooting. Police say the 2 suspects killed Seals in a cemetery before driving to the JC Kosher supermarket where they killed 3 more. 31-year-old Mindy Ferenc and 24-year-old Moshe Deutsch were laid to rest last week. Employee Douglas Miguel Rodriguez was buried this weekend.
I came here for a better life, for a different life, to earn money.
The 2 shooters were killed by responding officers. In New York, Anna Eliopoulos, Fox News.
Legalizing marijuana on an uphill battle in one state, what some lawmakers are now facing as that new bill is being pushed forward. Boeing plans to suspend production of its 737 MAX airplanes. The company confirms it'll stop production of the 737 MAX in January. The planes were grounded worldwide back in March after 2 crashes that killed 346 people. Boeing has continued to build 42 of the planes a month since the grounding, but has not been able to deliver them. Boeing has an inventory of more than 400 of the airplanes in storage, and now a whistleblower is speaking out about the concerns he talked to management about.
As far as what I saw, again, was just a factory in disarray, and we had a lot of things going on, as I mentioned to Congress, and those problems just continued to cascade for many months, and that's when I brought my concerns to the attention of the senior management. I sent emails, and I eventually met in person with the general manager, explained my concerns, asked him to consider shutting down the factory because I felt like it was just not worth the risk, and I didn't really get that support.
The company said today the continued uncertainty of the 737 MAX's future forced it to make the drastic move to pause the plane's production and shift its focus to delivering planes it has already produced. The company's stock price fell on that news. Developing now, a petition was filed on December 12th asking voters to legalize recreational marijuana in the state of Oklahoma. SQ 806 would add an amendment to the Constitution, which would generally legalize, regulate, and tax adult-use marijuana under state law. It would protect the personal use of marijuana for anyone 21 years old and older, while setting quantity limits and safety standards. Any non-medical marijuana would have a 15% excise tax on sales to consumers. Also developing when it comes to legalizing the use of marijuana, in Wisconsin, many state lawmakers would describe the process as an uphill battle. In the latest attempt to legalize the drug for medical purposes, 2 Republican lawmakers have come forward with a new bill. However, Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald has already rejected the proposal.
It's pretty sad when you have a majority leader and the majority party not doing what's good for the public. And I know there's Republicans out there that really wanted to fix this medical marijuana bill because it should be part of the solution medically to allow people to get the treatment they need.
I think Senator Fitzgerald was probably a little quick in his critique, and I would have liked to seen him have a little bit more open-mindedness.
For Republican Representative John Mako, the push to legalize medical marijuana is personal. He says his wife has been traveling to other states in order to use the drug as treatment for her cancer. Mako hopes the medical marijuana legislation is brought up for debate, but at this time, no such debate has even been planned. Tonight we're taking a live look in space from a NASA camera. NASA, its astronauts and engineers have long been the drivers behind space exploration, but now new space pioneers are feeling the race back to the moon and onto Mars. Josie Sturman discovered their efforts are reinvigorating the country's legendary space coast, ultimately making it easier and cheaper for all of us to go to space in this Spotlight on America report.
We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
It's been 50 years since NASA sent 3 men hurtling through space bound for the moon. Apollo 11 was a giant leap for mankind and a step that cemented this country's enduring fascination with traveling beyond the clouds.
Why does space exploration remain so important to Americans?
Well, I think it's in our DNA, at least I hope so. I think the drive to explore, to look beyond the horizon, is part of what makes Americans Americans.
While the drive to push beyond the horizon hasn't dulled over the decades, private industry is now leading the mission.
Everything changed in the last 50 years. We thought it was going to be all about governments doing it, but it turned out it was going to be about private companies and private people doing it. And that's what's so exciting about now.
Tom Markusik is the CEO of Firefly, a company some believe could one day be the FedEx of space, delivering commercial loads with its own fleet of rockets. The Texas company is one of several space-minded innovators moving to Florida, helping to fuel an American space renaissance.
In the next 25 years, space is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar business.
And Cape Canaveral, with its historic ties and existing infrastructure, has emerged as the epicenter.
Before, we were just a place where stuff was built elsewhere, shipped here, and we put it in space.
Now it's the hub for private companies to do it all themselves, according to Dale Ketchum with Space Florida. The State Economic Development Agency has brokered big deals and brought millions in space development to an area effectively shuttered by the closure of NASA's shuttle program in 2011. There's rapid growth happening at the Cape thanks to space pioneers like Elon Musk, whose SpaceX is building silver behemoths like the Starship, a reusable rocket. While down the road, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rises like a phoenix. Its operation to build reusable rockets he hopes will one day ferry humans to space is already expanding. Just across the street, OneWeb works to crank out one satellite every 8-hour shift. Experts say this new space race will eventually speed up how quickly we get to the moon or Mars and lower the price of the trip.
But as we continue to lower those costs and make access to space more affordable, everyone will benefit, but NASA and the Air Force as much as anyone.
For its part, America's storied space agency isn't feeling threatened. Tom Engler, director of the Center Planning and Development Directorate at Kennedy Space Center, told our partner Full Measure there's a shared goal.
Had we been worried about competition from commercial, we would not have invited them to be a part of our space center and become a multi-user spaceport. We're all here to do the same thing, which is to explore.
Exploration that partners the pioneers of the past with the innovators of the future. I'm Josie Sturman for Spotlight on America.
Josie, thanks so much. Current time is 10:20. Tonight, our weather team tracking severe weather to the west and how it could impact middle and southwest Georgia tomorrow. Here's the weather map. So we've got a cold front slicing its way across the country. This is what it will look like tomorrow. So that cold front right through middle and south Georgia, and along it will be a chance for showers and storms. And yes, there could be some severe weather. Now, once the front moves through, temperatures will start to tumble pretty quickly tomorrow, and that'll take us back to reality for Wednesday and beyond. Today in Macon, really warm. Albany, you tied a record high this afternoon. But today's warmth long gone. As I said, it's back to reality as this system moves through. So let's talk about what the radar looks like right now. First of all, we've got at least one tornado warning in central Alabama. To the southwest of that, orange outlines representing severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, once you go north of Birmingham up into northwest Georgia, there are no active warnings, but the storms are packing a punch with heavy rain and thunder and lightning and some gusty wind. But the trend of weakening we are seeing there, and I think that trend will begin to take place on the southern end of this line as well. So everything is panning out as we expected. A weakening trend as it approaches middle and southwest Georgia. Does that mean we won't see severe weather? And we can't guarantee that, but it's a low-end threat. So in middle Georgia, everyone is shaded in that threat level of 1 out of 5, meaning the threat isn't 0, but it's not a high-end threat. So a couple of strong, possibly severe storms, that'll be the going theme for Tuesday. So let's simulate it out with our simulated radar. Notice tonight, everything is hunky-dory, but tomorrow morning, things are starting to pack a punch. Here we are going to work and school at 7 a.m., and the rain is pretty widespread with embedded thunderstorms, and those are the ones we'll have to watch watch out for some possible rotation. By the time this line gets here, we may not hear a lot of thunder, we may not see a lot of lightning, but you can have severe weather without thunder and lightning. Notice by 10 o'clock, we're still seeing isolated storms develop. And by 2 o'clock, that activity is pushing through areas like Dublin and Wrightsville. And by 5 or 6 o'clock, everything is gone. And that's when your temperatures really start to tumble off. So this will be an on and off rain throughout the day with embedded thunderstorms that we'll have to watch out for. In southwest Georgia, similar story. Everyone is shaded in that 1 to 5 threat level. So a low end threat, but not zero. Here's the timeline for you. Notice in the morning at 5 a.m., that line starting to enter from Alabama. As we're going to work and school by 7 a.m., everything is really west of 75. And then as we go through mid-morning by 10 o'clock, it's stretching right through the heart of the region. So draw that line from Fitzgerald to Cairo. That is where you'll find the threat level by mid-morning. As we go into the lunchtime hour, everything's starting to shift towards Nashville and Adel. And then by 2 o'clock, it's in our far southeastern areas like Valdosta and Pearson. And by 5 or 6 o'clock, everything is gone, and that's when your temperature starts to drop off. Now, we shouldn't be surprised about severe weather potential this time of year. This is really our second severe weather season. So just be mindful tomorrow, stay weather aware. A few strong to severe storms can't be ruled out, and the main threat would be damaging wind and maybe a brief tornado. We often think about the spring being our severe weather season, and it certainly is, but in Georgia, November and December put together add up for 13% of our tornado development each year. So December is no stranger to tornado development. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that tomorrow. We'll be keeping an eye on it for you. Here's the 10-day forecast up first for middle Georgia. We'll call it 57 by tomorrow afternoon. That's after waking up to the 60s. So temperatures in middle Georgia will fall throughout the day. Beautiful Wednesday, Thursday, rain this weekend, but Christmas Eve and Christmas Day look really nice right now with highs in the 60s. In southwest Georgia, Wednesday and Thursday look great. There's your rain this weekend, but similar story. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day look outstanding right now. We've got more news and weather still to come.
Jeff, thanks. The season finale for Fox's hit show The Masked Singer is just 2 days away. What you can expect to see for the final showdown. Georgia Department of Natural Resources is reminding people that bear hunting is illegal outside of its one-day season. 2 people were cited over the weekend for killing a bear in Bleckley County. Bear hunting is illegal year-round and limited to just one day, December 21st. Game Warden Jason Bennett says illegally killing bears is a serious offense.
I miss a citation for breaking the law, just like speeding, for instance. In this case, killing a bear is a misdemeanor of high and aggravated nature, so it's a pretty serious case, but they were both given citations for that and for hunting at night.
The citation is for restitution to be paid to the DNR in the amount of $1,500, and the court will assign the fine.
Current time 10:27. Remember all of that rain we had last week, especially in middle Georgia. So much of it happened on Friday. Well, tonight we have the final rain totals, and boy, did they overachieve. Sparta in Hancock County, nearly 6 inches of rain. Over 4 1/4 in Tennille, that's in Washington County. Butler, nearly 4 inches of rain. Here in Macon, over 3 1/2. Same for Byron. Nearly just over 3 inches, I should say, in Dublin, Jeffersonville, and Eatonton. Just over 3 in Fort Valley, just under 3 in Warner Robins. So big rain totals, 3 to 4 inches on average. I'm always amazed. I was driving into work today and looking at the area rivers and how much they are up over just a few days ago. Think about this. Inches of rain allows the rivers to go up by feet. Check this out. So the Mulgee River in Macon, before the rain, was at 6 feet deep. It peaked over the weekend at nearly 18 feet, so it nearly tripled with just a few inches of rain. The Oconee River in Milledgeville was at 7 feet before the rain came in. It peaked at nearly 23 feet. Big jump there. Part of that, I think, was the release of water from Lake Sinclair, but nonetheless, it happened. And in Dublin, the Oconee River is still rising tonight. Before the rain was at 2 feet. Now it's at 14 feet. So huge increases in feet for our rivers with just a few inches of rain. Tonight we only have one flood warning we're concerned about, and that's along the Oconee River south of Oconee. So any interest there, this is southwest Washington, western Johnson County, and far north Lawrence County. And bottom line, if you're along a creek, stream, or river, you have interest there, keep an eye on them. Most of them are starting to recede, and tomorrow's rain shouldn't be too big of a concern for those rivers in the area. We'll have the latest on our severe threat for tomorrow coming up in our second half hour.
Pancreatic cancer is one of the most deadly forms of cancer, largely because of late diagnosis. The new high-tech procedure that can help identify and eliminate pancreatic cancer before it even develops. Now at 10:32, at least one person is dead after 19 tornadoes strike the Deep South, 7 in Louisiana and a dozen in Mississippi. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Cox starts the half hour with new video just in.
The tornado is on the ground.
From an air traffic control tower in Alexandria, Louisiana, a wall of clouds, a large, destructive tornado not only spotted there, but by drivers on the west side of the city. Buildings damaged, debris strewn in the streets, vehicles overturned. Further west, in a rural area of Vernon Parish, northwest of Lafayette, a 59-year-old woman killed. Officials say her mobile home destroyed by the storm.
A tornado came through.
Debris covered a cemetery and a parking lot next to a church. The National Weather Service earlier issued a tornado emergency, the highest criteria for a tornado warning in parts of central Louisiana. In Mississippi, wind and rain, as tornadoes were confirmed across the central part of the state. In Edwards, Mississippi, west of Jackson, trees toppled onto homes, crushed cars, blocked roads. The severe weather now heading east and could contain strong damaging winds with even more isolated tornadoes possible.
And tonight, our team tracking the radar closely. This is a live look, and you can see an active tornado warning south of Birmingham tonight. And then below that, severe thunderstorm warnings in orange. Now, a couple of things to point out with this line of storms. Once you get to Birmingham and points north, it is not severe. It's packing a punch. There's a ton of thunder and lightning moving into northwest Georgia tonight, moving through areas south of Birmingham as well. But we expect this weakening trend to continue as this part of the line approaches middle and southwest Georgia, and that'll happen early tomorrow morning. Because the line is weakening, does that mean we do not get severe weather? The answer to that would be no, not necessarily. The setup for this, as it moves through middle and southwest Georgia, the atmosphere will be lacking in stability, so we may not get a lot of thunder and lightning, but there is some spin, some rotation in the environment. So you can have severe weather, you can have damaging wind gusts, you could have a brief tornado without having a lot of thunder and lightning. And so that's the threat we'll be watching out for as this line comes into middle and south Georgia by tomorrow morning. As you saw there in the piece just a moment ago, it has already left its mark across the Deep South. Every icon on this map represents some type of severe weather report. We've got over 100 of them now, and a little under a third of those are likely tornadoes. Unfortunately, this is a fatal storm system as well. We know of at least one fatality. A woman has passed away after her mobile home was destroyed. 12 other injuries are being reported tonight. Coming up later in this half hour, we'll take that severe storm threat for tomorrow, and I'll break it down hour by hour. Following that, cooler weather coming in, find out when the 20s return. And yes, Christmas is on the way. You'll get the latest on that with your 10-day forecast. It's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Jeff, thanks. The final mask will be lifted on the Season 2 finale of Fox's hit show, The Masked Singer, this Wednesday. And Fox's Ashley DeVorkin has the scoop.
It's down to 3 secret celebrities, the Flamingo, the Rottweiler, and the Fox, all taking the stage one last time to battle it out for the Golden Mask Trophy on the Season 2 finale of Fox's The Masked Singer.
The top 3 performers in the finale are probably some of the best singers and entertainers doing it today.
The show recently unmasking more big stars during a 2-night holiday-themed event. 4-time Grammy winner Seal revealed as the Leopard, pro basketball player Victor Oladipo as Thingamajig, and comedic actress Anna Gasteyer as the Tree.
For me, I think it's sometimes confusing for people because I'm both a singer and I'm very well known from the comedy world. So Masked Singer was a nice opportunity to kind of bring those two things together under one mask, so to speak.
Gasteyer says being disguised as the Tree was a perfect fit to promote her new project.
I have this holiday album out, Sugar and Booze. It's an old school throwbacky festival of joy around the holidays, and the Tree was a seasonal nod.
For the 2-hour finale, fans will relive their favorite moments and best performances. And then the 3 finalists will compete for the prize. See who will be crowned the winner of Season 2 when the finale airs Wednesday, December 18th, only on Fox. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
New tonight, one Southwest Georgia country music singer is receiving statewide recognition. Ariel Mallory caught up with the singer and heard firsthand why he was chosen for this award. Ariel.
Yes, the Georgia Country Music Hall of Fame did recently award 18-year-old Sebastian Sky Shadows with a very prestigious honor. Sebastian did recently receive the Uprising Country Music Star Award. He is too young as of now to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, Sebastian is born and raised in Terrell County, Georgia, and he says he's been playing the guitar since he was only 10 years old. He says he recently began singing live a little over 2 years ago and now hopes to begin recording in the future. When asked how he felt when he received this award, he said he couldn't think of anything else he enjoys more.
I take a lot of pride in this, what my family's done, and just being able to play out there and connect with people is one of the best things I can think of.
Now, the Georgia Music Hall of Fame is currently located in Macon, Georgia. Some of the most known singers inducted into the Hall of Fame include Albany's own Ray Charles. Reporting live in Albany, I'm Ariel Mallory.
President Trump's impeachment now seems like a done deal. I'm Ray Bogan in Washington. Coming up, how attention is already starting to shift to a Senate trial.
Thanks to amazing medical advancements over the past 2 decades, more people than ever are surviving cancer. But for those with pancreatic cancer, the prognosis remains bleak, with a 5-year survival rate of just 9%. Well, now a new procedure is helping doctors identify pancreatic cancer and eliminate it before it's life-threatening.
When Patricia Beatty was admitted to the hospital with a stomach virus, she didn't expect they'd find a problem in her pancreas.
He told me that that the cyst was there and that it was precancerous.
She was lucky. Pancreatic cancer is not usually caught so early.
The cancer doesn't produce any symptoms early on.
And while pancreatic cysts are common, it's difficult to determine which will become cancer. Doctors currently rely on testing fluid from inside the cyst.
The accuracy of that was poor, in a sense that about 30 to 35% of patients would remain undiagnosed.
So Dr. Somashekar Krishna, a gastroenterologist at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, led a study examining a new diagnostic method that allows doctors to do a sort of virtual biopsy, giving them a microscopic view of the cyst wall to make a diagnosis with complete confidence.
We can diagnose cysts with the accuracy of 96 to 97%.
The procedure uses a tiny scope that emits laser light to produce a cellular image of the inside of the cyst.
Looking at the wall, the pattern, the image pattern which comes from the cyst wall, which comes as a direct video feed in real time, we can conclude what the diagnosis is.
For Patricia, this means eliminating the cyst and living a cancer-free future with her family.
It just makes me feel really, really good that I'm going to be here.
And researchers are now training doctors in hospitals across the country to perform this new procedure and to analyze the images it produces to accurately diagnose precancerous cysts. And they're also working to develop artificial intelligence that will flag cases that are likely precancerous so doctors can act quickly. 2 Southwest Georgia pastors are invited to the Oval Office, what they wanted to do for President Trump.
From the Terrorism Alert Desk in Washington, I'm Lindsay Mastis. Indonesian police arrested 7 suspected militants belonging to ISIS affiliates over the weekend. It's ahead of an effort to increase security before the holidays. Their security operation will run through New Year's, and it includes 190,000 officers that will secure churches, shopping malls, airports, and tourist destinations. Turkey's president is threatening to close 2 military bases. It's in response to possible sanctions after the U.S. Senate formally recognized a genocide against Armenians in the early part of the 20th century, which Turkey denies. In Congo over the weekend, rebels with links to ISIS are accused of killing at least 43 people following a new military offensive in the area, according to a human rights group. The Associated Press reports that members of the Allied Democratic Forces even went door to door in some cases, shooting victims in an effort to turn civilians against the army. It happened in an area in eastern Congo that was part of the Ebola epidemic. At the Terrorism Alert Desk in Washington, I'm Lindsay Mastis.
Marks the start of a historic week in the U.S. as House lawmakers are set to vote on impeaching President Donald Trump. That would set in motion the third impeachment of a U.S. president in history. A USA Today Suffolk University poll finds Americans are divided on the next steps. 51% of those surveyed oppose the Senate voting to convict President Trump, who is charged with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. But according to the poll, almost half of Americans support removing him from office. He's accused of using military aid to pressure Ukraine to investigate his political rival and former Vice President Joe Biden. The House Rules Committee, 11 a.m. session tomorrow, will decide how long the House's debate on impeachment will last. And while impeachment in the House is all but guaranteed, all eyes are now on the Senate leadership ahead of President Trump's trial. Ray Bogan is in Washington with more. Ray, good evening.
More Democrats in swing congressional districts are coming out in support of impeachment. It's making a Senate trial look inevitable. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is already looking ahead to 2020. He says he wants former National Security Advisor John Bolton and the acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney to testify in a Senate trial.
We want to come up with a fair trial where the facts come out without dilatory actions and without making this into a circus of unrelated conspiracy theories.
Schumer is also proposing a schedule to Mitch McConnell that would start January 9th, with arguments split between Democrats and Republicans. The man who led the Senate through President Clinton's impeachment trial says witness testimony could be harmful.
It's bad enough, and if this turns into an absolute, mudslinging process, it'll make things even worse.
Rudy Giuliani has been in Budapest and Kiev recently to make a documentary to undermine the impeachment inquiry.
He does it out of love. He sees what goes on. He sees what's happening. He sees all of the hoax that happens.
Despite hearings and committee reports, a new Fox News poll shows the public's opinion of impeachment hasn't really changed since October. Half of registered voters say the president should be impeached and removed. 41% say he should stay. The results fall largely on party lines. As the vote gets closer, Democrats in swing congressional districts won by President Trump in 2016 will have to make a difficult choice. Two more of those congressmen now say they will vote yes on impeachment. In Washington, Ray Bogan. Aaron, back to you.
All right, we'll see what happens this week. Ray Bogan in Washington tonight. Ray, thanks. Well, two Albany pastors were invited to fly to Washington, D.C. to pray for President Trump and White House staff. Trent Corey and his wife Keisha Corey lead Hope City United Church in Albany. They were two of almost 40 religious leaders selected to attend the Trump administration's Faith Leaders Briefing at the White House on December 6th. They also discussed religious persecution and sex trafficking, among other subjects. Trent Corey says the experience gave him a deeper appreciation of the presidency.
Just because I know what it takes in my own life just to run my family and have a job and run a church, I realize that that's a weighty position, and we must remain in prayer for our leaders. We must remain in prayer for our country and for the future of our country, because I believe God wants to unite us, not divide us.
And he also learned about underprivileged people in other parts of the world and what actions are being done to stop sex trafficking. A federal judge is letting Georgia proceed with a mass purge of its voting polls. Despite the move, the judge will schedule a hearing Thursday to hear more arguments about it. And that decision came after a lawyer for the state assured him that if the judge finds later that some people should not have been removed, they can be easily and quickly reinstated. A list of more than 300,000 voters whose registration was at risk of being purged.
Current time 10:49. All eyes on that cold front moving towards Georgia tonight. This is what the weather map will look like tomorrow morning. So your next weather maker is your imminent weather maker, the same cold front that has produced so much severe weather to our west tonight. Unfortunately, a fatal weather system. And this evening, it's still producing severe weather. Here's a live look at the radar, and you can see just south of Birmingham, that is a tornado warning, ironically, in Bibb County. But that's Bibb County, Alabama, not Bibb County, Georgia. Also Also involved with that, these orange outlines, which are severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So there is still severe weather being produced, but the good news is it is not as severe as what we had earlier this afternoon. So that trend of weakening that was in the forecast seems to be taking place. Now, there's a lot of thunder and lightning, but by the time it gets to middle and south Georgia, we may not hear a lot of thunder and lightning. So let's talk about that for a moment. This is a setup in which there is not a lot of energy to make thunderstorms, but there is plenty of spin and rotation in the atmosphere to produce damaging wind and maybe a brief tornado. You can have severe weather without thunder and lightning, and that may end up being what we get with this system as it approaches middle and south Georgia. So it's something to keep in mind. Let's break it down region by region. So here in middle Georgia, our threat level is a 1 out of 5. Everyone is included. It's not a high-end threat, but it is not 0, so our team tracking it closely and paying a lot of attention to it. Our simulated radar, so overnight tonight, things are pretty benign, but by tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, we've got that line of storms pushing through. By lunchtime, or I should say by mid-morning, it's these isolated storms that we'll have to watch out for. Same thing by lunchtime and into the early afternoon, everything starts shifting east of 75, and by 4 or 5 o'clock, it should be out of middle Georgia, and that's when the temperature starts to fall off pretty quickly. In southwest Georgia, same story. Everyone is at a threat level of 1 out of 5, so low end, but not 0. So by tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., we've got this line of storms starting to knock on our doorstep. By 6 or 7 o'clock, it's impacting areas west of 75, including the Albany area. So waking up for work and school could be on the stormy side. By 10 o'clock, it's moving through places like Ashburn, down to Moultrie, down to Cairo. And then by lunchtime, impacting places like Adel and Nashville. And by 2 o'clock, Valdosta to Pearson and over to Nashville. And then by 4 or 5 o'clock, it should be all gone. So this is a little bit of a longer stretch than normal, going to take several hours for it to move through. It's going to be a busy day in the Weather Center. We'll be tracking it closely for you. Let's get to the 10-day forecast. This is the most active weather we'll have all week. After tomorrow, boy, it's beautiful Wednesday, Thursday. Then your next round of rain will come in this weekend, including the first day of winter on Saturday. In southwest Georgia, 50s are back with sunshine Wednesday and Thursday. The rain is back this weekend, but Christmas Eve and Christmas Day look beautiful right now. We've got more news and weather coming up after this break. Current time is 10:55. Remember last week's rain? My goodness, the rain gauges across the region filled up quickly. The final totals in middle Georgia, really impressive. We were expecting 2 to 3 inches of rain. Mother Nature exceeded that just a bit, especially in Sparta. Nearly 6 inches of rain up in Hancock County. Washington County, the city of Tennille, 4 1/4 there. Butler and Taylor County, nearly 4 inches of rain. But look at all of the places that got 3 to 4 inches of rain. Inches of rain result in feet of climb in our river levels. I was crossing the Mulgee River in Macon today, and my goodness, it was 6 feet before the rain. Now it's at over 18 feet when it crested. Oconee River in Milledgeville started at 7 feet. It crested at nearly 23 feet. And tonight in Dublin, the Oconee River up to 14 feet after starting at 2 feet, and it's still going up tonight. Bottom line, a little bit of rain means a big change in our creek, streams, and rivers. I don't think tomorrow's rain will have too much of an impact, but you know our team will be tracking it closely. Aaron?
Thanks, Jeff. Finally tonight, Coca-Cola fans, listen up. You can get new Coke flavors delivered right to your door for $10 a month. Coca-Cola is giving a limited number of fans exclusive access to all new beverages in its Coca-Cola Insiders Club. The first 1,000 people to sign up will get the first taste of about 20 new beverages that Coca-Cola plans to release. Starting next month, insiders will receive monthly shipments of beverages for 6 months. The packages will also include other surprises. Interesting.
What does it cost?
I can't answer that.
I wonder if there's a cost.
I don't know.
That will go quickly.
Oh, I'm sure it's already.
Just the people watching tonight.
Yes.
They took care of it.
Exactly. I mean, 1,000 people out of how many people?
Tens of thousands. Yeah. So it's Coca-Cola.com.
Right.
I'm sure they're up right now.
It'll be interesting to see what they send out. So, all right, that's all the time we have on this Monday evening. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, we'll be watching those storms closely. Make sure to join us for updates all night and through the day tomorrow as well. Daily Mail's up next.